for allowing me to speak before you today. And as Pam just said, my name is Gretchen Warner. I'm with the Volunteer Center of Sonoma County. And my department specifically helps community members get into the schools to make a difference. And community members we know going into the schools, spending time with those students, really do have an impact. But what I want to talk to you, in addition to my program, is what does the Volunteer Center do? So the Volunteer Center has been in our community for 42 years. If we think back to what Sonoma County was 42 years ago, it was a grassroots movement. It was a couple of folks sitting around a table saying, we need a volunteer center. And imagine the vision they had back when we think of the community then. Folks were already helping each other, right? It was more rural than it is now, right? Agricultural based. And yet those folks said, wow, we need to have some type of an organization to connect community with needs. And that's how it started. So the Volunteer Center, again, has been here about 42 years. And we do many things. So how many folks have heard of the human race? Well, that's the Volunteer Center. We do that certainly with other partners, but the human race is the Volunteer Center, and we've been doing it very quietly because what happens in the human race is a lot of the local nonprofits have an opportunity to raise funds. So over the years, Volunteer Center thought that it was important to not be in the spotlight, but to give the agencies who were participating or that were participating in it so that they could do their fundraising. A lot of small nonprofits actually make their full budget for the year through their supporters' participation in the human race. So that's one of the things we do. So how about Secret Santa? Any of you heard of Secret Santa and see the trees with the hearts hanging on them around the holiday season? That's Volunteer Center too. And thousands of folks get gifts as a result of Secret Santa. And we vet everybody, so everybody is cleared if they're going to receive a gift from Secret Santa. We work directly with agencies who submit names and requests, be it for children or adults. And then we also help fulfill the letters that are read on KZST. So any of you listen to KZST around the holiday season and hear some of those letters being read? Each letter that's submitted to Volunteer Center receives phone calls and follow-up to make sure that the individual that's named in that letter is truly in need. So everything is vetted when we do Secret Santa, which of course is a marvelous opportunity, and we fulfill all kinds of requests, from somebody asking for a box of candy, all the way up to helping them pay a PG&E bill, a bed, and of course numerous bikes. It's Bike Central around that holiday season, putting bikes together. So that's another piece that we do. And then how about, have any of you had a ticket, maybe a speeding ticket, and opted to do some volunteer community service in place of your fine? That's court referral. That's also at Volunteer Center, and that's of course in partnership with Sonoma County. And if someone were to get a ticket and opted to do some community service, you'd come to Volunteer Center, to the court referral department, and you'd get set up with an agency that needs help that's on our list for folks who need to do court referral. Court referral also has a juvenile program that works directly with probation and directly with the court and community schools in our community to help those kids get volunteer opportunities. And while they're doing that for requirements for community service, they're getting job skills. They're getting out there in the community. And many of them stay on with the organization where they've done their service. So that really goes well beyond just community service for our youth. How many of you are 55 and older? You don't have to raise your hands if you don't want to. But if you're 55 and older, we also have the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And what the Senior Volunteer Program does is help volunteers that are 55 and older get matched with opportunities in the community. And the reason why that plays a big role is that's a federally funded grant, and we've been awarded it. In fact, our RSVP manager just submitted her 3-year grant, so another 3 years. Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're awarded it again. And that is a program that provides funding for programs that support, sorry about the noise, that support community members 55 and older volunteering, because we know that we can make an impact. We can have a huge impact. We have so much in terms of skills and knowledge and wisdom and good strong backs oftentimes to make a difference in the community to get projects done and to participate. Some of you may have also heard of 211. Have any of you heard of that phone number 211? That's a safety net service program, and so if you came across somebody maybe who was homeless, and you couldn't help that person directly, but you wanted to make sure that person had what they needed, maybe they were just looking for something right then, or something a little bit down the road, they could call 911, and that's a whole directory. And operators answer, and they can help you say, here, why don't you go here? This is what they said, or here's the phone, you call it and find out where you can go this evening and where you can get the help you need. And that's also a volunteer center program in cooperation with the county. So we do a lot of things. We also support a lot of nonprofits. There's more than 800 nonprofits in Sonoma County. So that's amazing that our little county has more than 800 nonprofits. And those are just the ones. There might be small startups that really aren't on the radar yet, because we're always starting new projects. But with that, Sonoma County is also #1 in volunteerism. So when we think about that, in our state, this county, more residents volunteer in this county than any other county in California. About 38% of us volunteer. So that's amazing too, and that's 10% above the county in second place. That's of 2010 statistics. I cannot find anything newer, but I'm sure that a more current number will come out when somebody runs those numbers and does the figures to help us figure that out. So with that, we support those nonprofits. We put on workshops, we put on seminars, we help people get started. We have a database that they can search for different grant opportunities. And so that's another one of the things that Volunteer Center does, is support the nonprofits by helping them really create better nonprofits. A lot of small ones, one person or two people may wear many hats. So we have a financial managers meeting that happens each month that folks can attend. We have a volunteer managers meeting that folks can attend to really support their programs, because like any other nonprofit, it's the volunteers that really make the difference in the organization and the organization's ability to keep going. We also do the Business Environmental Challenge. Some of you might have heard about that. That's really asking businesses to come out for one day and work on a project. So that's something else that's Volunteer Center. And then recently we have Build a Better Nonprofit, which is in partnership with Freedmen's. So they're one of the supporters of that, and many other things at the Volunteer Center. And then the Business Environmental Challenge is actually an Agilent supported program. So there's many ways to get involved. Something that's kind of a secret, and it's not even on this sheet that's on your table, is we have volunteer interviewers. And of course, those folks are volunteers, and they are at the Volunteer Center, so someone can drop in or make an appointment and say, I want to volunteer, but I don't know what I want to do. And someone can sit down with a volunteer interviewer and explore their interests, what they might like to do, the days and times that they're available, whether they might want to make a one-time commitment or an ongoing commitment. And that volunteer interviewer and that person will explore all those opportunities, and that person will leave with some agencies where they might be a good fit, and then that individual can go out, contact the agency will know that they were referred by Volunteer Center, and they can find a good match. And if none of those work, they can come back and find different opportunities. So anywhere from working with young people, little children, youth, adults, aged, to the environment, to food. You think about a cause, animals, and there's volunteer opportunities there in our community to get involved. And it really is about participation. I used to say give back, but we want youth to participate, and they may not feel that they're old enough to give back. So I really like to think of it as participating. And of course, you as Rotarians, you already participate in your community. And I have to share a story because I think that this is what it's all about. I was driving home last night, and I was coming down Fulton Road, and there was a car parked in the middle of the road out there. It's in that very dark section there between River Road and Highway 101 heading north, except for I was heading due south. So I come down the hill over that overpass, and there's a car parked in the middle of the road, and lots of cars on the right-hand side, and then further down some more cars. And I slowed down and passed between that car parked in the middle of the road, people were out on the street, and went by, and then I got to the next group of cars, and here's this woman who stepped out right in front of the car in front of me for help, and that car just went by, and she moved to the side. So when I pulled up, I stopped, and here was this woman with blood all over the side of her face, and fellows standing on the side of the road, and she came up to my truck and said, "Can you just get me out of here? I just want to get out of here." So I let her into my vehicle. I pulled down the road a little bit, and then soon after, I started to see the lights, and the first thing to arrive was a fire truck and then an ambulance. And this young woman, I don't know what happened, all she said was they hit me. I had no idea if she'd been hit by a fist or by a vehicle. But she was in my car, I kept her there, I told her she couldn't leave the scene, she wanted to go somewhere else. And we stayed there, the ambulance came, they took care of her in the front seat of my truck, and then got her into onto a gurney and into the ambulance. And before that, that person in front of me had just gone by. And I know that we have to think what risk we want to put ourselves in, what position we want to put ourselves. I didn't know when I was stopping who this person was, who these folks were standing along the street. But I knew that she came up to the car and she needed help. And I knew that she at least needed to get out of that situation because I didn't know what her connection was to those fellows standing there. So at least she had a safe place. And I think that's what it's about when we stop and think about volunteering. Because we do it all the time, right? I mean, we can do it formally and get connected with an agency and go in weekly and do our volunteer work. And that's extremely important because those nonprofits won't exist without it. But yet we do it every day. So those people who don't think they volunteer, think of your offers to help a neighbor. Think of your offers to give somebody a ride. Think of your offers to watch somebody's child or to do some gardening. That's all volunteering, whether it's formalized or not. And so every day when we get up, we are making a difference in each other's lives, and I really think that that's what it's about. And I think that those folks who started the Volunteer Center years ago, that's what they envisioned, is how do we help connect community members who want to participate with the needs in our community. So are there any questions? Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the support services you have for nonprofits?
Sure. The support services for nonprofits. We have a whole department that's dedicated to supporting nonprofits. We put on regular workshops so people can come in to, like yesterday was really, there was one about managing volunteers, a lot around volunteer retention, a lot around setting up an organization, wearing the different hats such as financial managers. We also look at building and developing executive directors. We also have a board match. So if somebody who wants to sit on a board, but they just don't know what's the best nonprofit for them, they can come and we'll help that agency find a good person that will be a good board member for that organization. We also have a database and a resource library. We know that a lot is online now, but we also have a physical library of books for nonprofits, as well as a database for which we're a member. Or somebody can come in, make an appointment, and spend time on that computer searching all the grant opportunities, because we know for nonprofits it's all about money too. That's another piece. And unfortunately for a lot of nonprofits, they need the money to support their staff, because nothing will happen without the people. But we all want to give to who's ever going to be the recipient, right? But that recipient won't get anything without the funds for somebody to do it. And so that's always a challenge, I think, for nonprofits and fundraising. So we really support nonprofits.
And how are you funded?
We're funded through grants, through private donations, through our partnerships with different organizations where we provide services in the county for the services that we provide.
The people that you send out to the nonprofits, do you screen them before you send them out in some way?
Good question. So do we screen? It depends upon the agency. We have a lot of agencies that are members of the Volunteer Center. So we're happy to post and facilitate their search for volunteers. They do meet with a volunteer interviewer, and then that volunteer interviewer, questions, their abilities and in terms of interests and whether they might be a good fit. But that's as far as it goes with that. The next step then is that person who leads with those different agencies that might be a good fit. Then it's that agency's responsibility now to really have a nice, good conversation, thorough conversation with that person to see, is this somebody we want to have in our office? and so on. Now, when my department works with school districts, that's the Literacy Connection actually contracts directly with school districts to find volunteers. Now, those volunteers are much more heavily screened. Volunteers attend an hour-and-a-half orientation. They have to be fingerprinted, and they have to submit a Department of Justice report that I receive as a result of the fingerprinting, and then a TB test. And then from there, I have a conversation with the volunteers on the phone to get them placed at the school that would be a good fit for them. Whether they want to go to a school nearby or a school of greatest need, we match them with a teacher whose students need the help. So we look at their time availability, the subject matter of interest, and so on, and that's kindergarten or pre-kindergarten now through 12th grade. And we're looking at working with another agency that goes to age 22. And so those volunteers are really screened before we put them in the school. So it depends upon the setting. Any other questions? Yes.
So where are your offices?
The offices are on Stony Circle, which is just a couple of blocks north on Stony Point Road of Highway 12.
The young people that come through the court and community school volunteer placement, do you have any, can you share a success story in working with that population?
With the court. That's not my department, that is someone else's, but we certainly do work together and collaborate. And I can in a couple of ways. One is just a young person that would stick with an organization, because if they have to be there and do their volunteer work, and then they stay beyond that, it's marvelous, because that young person's now made a connection with the community, and some of these kids are what is termed in the papers disconnected youth. And so by requiring that community service, now this person's become connected. They've actually gotten an opportunity to see what the work world is like, to go there on a regular basis, to be responsible. And for some of these kids, getting to someplace on a regular basis is a real challenge. That's part of where they find themselves in that situation. So I think the success stories, and Lori certainly, who's the head of that department, could share more. I think that's part of it. Is just that these kids now become connected, and they see that they're capable, and they see that they can participate in their community, because they don't see that. It's interesting when you think back to when we were kids and what we might have thought, and sometimes it really wasn't that accurate, or where we didn't feel like we belonged. And we place volunteers in those court and community schools too, like Omarosa, which is around the corner from LCL, and Headwaters, which is down in Petaluma. Those have been out at Sierra Girls School. So folks that want to work with at-risk youth, we also have those opportunities. So I think that it's just that we're connecting youth and showing them that they have a place. And some of them do their community service at Volunteer Center too. So they might come every day and do something for us, and these kids are great. I had one young man who was making phone calls. We had to call all of our volunteers here at the beginning of the school year, and we gave him the script to use, and he was so professional that he went down that list and called everybody and made marks, and it was, he did a wonderful job. I'd have him do it any time. And I think when we give kids those opportunities, they start to see themselves as capable. Because sometimes they've been beaten down and they keep getting the messages that are negative about what they're capable of doing. So. Yes.
So, it sounds like you've got a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yes.
What's the best way for folks to find out about you?
Well, you can go to the website. It's volunteernow.org. But websites are they don't always tell the whole story. I know that just going to our website and taking a look. You can drop by. We just had a volunteer fair last Saturday in our parking lot. It was the first time that we tried it, where we invited the agencies that wanted to participate, and we just had everybody have tables out in our parking lot, and it went really well for our first try. And it's just having folks come down and finding out what's going on, or seeing if it's a good fit for you or your organization, because the agencies are connected to us. Sometimes we know their needs, so if you're looking for something to do or some need, I know that Rotaries have legacy projects, some of them that they like to do, so that's another opportunity to find out, well, what are some of the needs in the community? And we know that my department, which is the school department, supports 3 of our local initiatives. We've got Upstream Investments, which is County Board of Supervisor, Cradle to Career, which is Health Action, and Sonoma County Office of Education, and then Healthy Sonoma 2020. All 3 of those initiatives, which target certainly different areas of health in our community, target high school graduation. Because if we don't have kids that graduate high school, what are we going to have as a community? Where's our educated workforce that's going to draw businesses here, or bring people here who want to come and move here because we have good schools. And also, of course, reading proficiency is a huge piece too, because how do we access information? And then there's recent studies that show that early math literacy, in terms of the preschool years, is a greater indicator of success in reading in school than early reading skills. So we have to look at both. We can't jump on one bandwagon. We've got to give our kids everything, support them. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for the past 2 years, I've been a volunteer for Schools of Hope, which is their organization. And it's only about 30 minutes. You do it once or twice a week. They provide all the stuff for you. It was very, very rewarding to see how the children, when they first started with me, you go from October till about the first part of May, and it was awesome. It was just so much fun. So it's just 30 minutes, once or twice a week was just great.
And I have to mention that is a United Way of the Wine Country initiative, and so we are their recruiting partner. So it's their program, but what we do is we partner with them to recruit, process, have them attend orientations, all the clearances about which I spoke, and then match them to one of the schools. So that's our role in that program. And of course, you're one of our wonderful volunteers. And so there's lots of opportunities to go into the schools based on what's a good fit for you.
So, do you have an electronic newsletter or anything that we can subscribe to get updates on what's going on?
Yes, we do have a newsletter, and it is electronic. And if you want to, please take my card and you can email me, and I will give your email pass your email along to the person who puts that out. But yes, we do have a monthly newsletter. Thank you. Good, thank you very much.
Things. First of all, we would like to present you with a bottle of cinnamon. This is one of our members. I'm looking at it weirdly, but she thought I bought a different bottle. We do John bottle for us. Every bottle of that goes with contributions. One of our biggest we have the prize. Money goes to someone. So, if you would select a ticket and read the last 4 digits.
Nobody wants me to make a mistake, do they? 1113.
Yes.
Oh,
Richard.
We got one. Okay, Don. All right. So we have these cards. Sure. One of these is an ace. And we're going to mix them all up. Look at it. What you want to do is pull one of those out. And if it's the ace, all that money goes to you. So, pressure's on. All right. Thanks for playing. But wait. I'm probably here to say, thanks, Pam, for the work prize.
Jammies, jammies.
We did that. Now, Mason Wilson is not the person. It's actually Pam Davis. No, it's actually Jerry Michelin. I love the look on your face. So Jerry, if we get a microphone to you, could you tell us?
Where's that eight? That team number 1's down to 3rd place.
Like I said, Marty, this job's harder than a horse.
You know,
right.
Thank you. Okay, so all the beer execs from all the big beer companies got together at a Rotary event. And the CEO of Budweiser said, "I'll have a Bud." And the CEO of Coors said, "I'll have a Coors." And the CEO of Miller said, "I'll have a Miller High Life." And the guy from Guinness said, "I'll have a Coke." And the other guy said, "Well, I thought we're all having beers." And he said, "Well, that's it, yeah. If you had all ordered a beer, I would have had one too."
Last chance for anyone who has any announcements, if anyone wants to tell anybody else. Otherwise, we're going to do a little early today. Nobody objects? No objections.
Here we go. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you until we meet again.